As the housing crisis continues to bite, the federal government has today introduced new legislation aimed at freeing up more family homes by encouraging pensioners to downsize. They're the homes many of us grew up in, filled with beloved knickknacks, treasured memories and questionable styling choices.
See that lace up there?
Yeah.
Fake. Plastic. Gives a place a Victoriana feel.
They're boomer castles, and they could just be the answer to Australia's housing woes.
What we are doing is giving pensioners the choice that if they find themselves in a house that isn't meeting their needs anymore, that they can downsize without the financial impediment.
The government today introducing sweeteners for pensioners looking to downsize, extending the asset test exemption on home sale proceeds from 1 year to 2.
So that pensioners have more time to find a home once they've sold their home.
And slashing the deeming rate, aka the assumed rate of return on assets used to determine pension amounts, from 2.25 to just 0.25%.
This means that their pension won't be affected as a result of selling their home.
When you sell your home, if you've got the proceeds, you know, $800,000, $1 million sitting in your bank account, the government says, aha, you're earning interest on that amount. And that's going to affect, you know, what we see as your income, and that's going to potentially affect your pension. Under this new legislation, they only say that you are getting 0.25% interest. Income you're deemed to earn will be a lot lower.
The idea is aimed at freeing up housing supply.
If you encourage people who've got houses that are too big for them to move out, then that frees up more for young families to move in, hopefully increases the supply a bit, makes it a bit more affordable.
Currently, more than a third of over 50s live in a home that isn't suitable for them as they age.
It's not about downsizing, it's about right-sizing, getting the right sort of home for people.
Last year, 8,000 pensioners right-sized. The government hoping its changes will see that number rise. But some are sceptical.
When you downsize, there's lots of costs. There's stamp duty, there's real estate agent fees, there's moving costs, there's all of that. So this may not be enough of an incentive for people to downsize.
If those pensioners then are trying to buy much smaller places, they're suddenly now going to be competing with first home buyers who can't afford much else. So it could, in fact, make the problem worse for some parts of the market.
So is trading in our beloved boomer castles really the silver bullet to help ease the housing supply shortage?
Telling me, dreaming.
Well, as we just saw, Social Services Minister Amanda Rishworth is responsible for the bill and she joins us now. Minister, have you done any modelling to see how many houses this will free up?
Well, look, the measures that are already in place encouraged 8,000 pensioners to downsize. We're hoping that will do a lot more. But of course, this isn't about forcing pensioners out of their home. What it is trying to take away the financial barriers. And we do hope that this will result in more pensioners not facing that financial barrier.
Does it assume, though, that the only reason pensioners don't downsize is financial? Because there's often a lot of emotional attachment that it's very hard to impact with policy.
Well, look, absolutely. We're not suggesting this is any silver bullet, but what we want to do is make sure that that if it is financial barriers, if pensioners feel it's not really worth it, because they could indeed, with $1 million sitting in their bank account, if they're not getting any other income, could actually lose their access to the pension. So that would be a big consideration, I think, for many pensioners. So we just want to get that disincentive out of the way so that it's not sitting there to stop pensioners from doing this.
But isn't the problem, as we heard Nikki Hutley, the economist, just say, that you then send pensioners into competition directly with first home owners? They're the people that are, or first home seekers, I should say, and they're the people that are struggling the most to get into the market, and now this just puts another barrier to them.
Well, look, we don't think that that will be the result of this policy. What we want to do is make sure that those pensioners who might be living in a 3 or 4 bedroom house that have not had the incentive to move, that this provides them with that incentive and frees that up for another family that might need rooms of that number. So, look, we're not suggesting this is a silver bullet, but we do think is an important step to make sure that that disincentive disincentive doesn't exist there. And importantly, pensioners aren't cut off from the pension when really all they want to do is buy a new home.
Sure, I understand that. And I'm not suggesting you are saying it's a silver bullet. It's a question of whether or not it might make housing affordability for first home buyers worse. So,
Well,
I mean, I get your point. You're saying you want to create or remove the disincentive for people to downsize. I get that, but that's only that one end of the equation. You necessarily make it harder for first home buyers, don't you? Can you explain to me why that's not true?
Well, this applies to the principal place of residence, so it could be a retirement village, which is not competing with first home buyers. I think what we want to do is just make sure that people are getting the right type of housing. This isn't just about housing supply. It's also making sure that people can have quality of life. I think we all know perhaps someone that is in a house way too big for them, that isn't able to do the cleaning or the gardening. So this is more than just a housing policy. This is about ensuring that pensioners are not punished and that we're able to support people get into suitable housing.
Could the end result of this also be that developers just move right in and knock these old family homes down and replace them with a bunch of townhouses? Or is that something that you want?
Well, look, that's not a matter for me. That is a matter for state governments and planning authorities. Really, for me, it's making sure that a pensioner that might not have any income, that wants to get out of their principal home they've had for many years, has perhaps $800,000 in the bank, needs that to buy another house, but doesn't lose their pension. That is the key of this policy, is to make sure that pensioners don't have that disincentive.
Amanda, quick question, but important questions. Do you say castle or castle?
I say castle.
Excellent.
I say castle.
That was the right answer. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a wonderful question with zero context.
You say castle.
Yeah, I say castle, and I get
castle.
pilloried for it all. And they made me change the voiceover.
You're going to call the movie, the Great Australian movie, The Castle. You're going to call it The Castle.
That's a different thing.
No, it's not.
Minister, I'm
That's the
sorry.
vibe of it.
That's the vibe of it. Sorry for wasting your time on that, Minister, but we appreciate you speaking to us. Thank you.